Ever wondered why such a foolish question is asked on so many websites? Do you know that this box changed the way you learn languages today? Let me explain. This box is a CAPTCHA that obstructs bot entries on the website. Now the question, are you a human, does make enough sense. But what does it have to do with learning languages? Well, I got you. This box is worldwide monopolized by a company named reCAPTCHA. It was founded by Louis von Ahn. Yes, the same person who founded the language learning app Duolingo. But what made Duolingo the first choice of a new language learner? Welcome to today's video of Explain Pool, where we will discuss how Duolingo took over the language industry. Ever since the birth of Duolingo, it has surged through the sky, constantly achieving milestones. But how did it manage to do that? For this, we have to go back to the year 2000. Louis and Von, a regular mathematics student studying at Duke University, wanted to pursue his career as a maths teacher. Fascinated with numbers, this man was highly motivated and wanted to change the world with numbers. But his dream was soon brought to a halt as reality hit him. As most mathematicians are focused only on solving 500-year-old sums, his dream of creation was shattered. But real soon, he put his mathematical skills to perfect use as he went on to pursue computer science at Carnegie Mellon University. Though his interest in mathematics was short-lived, his interest in teaching did not change. He decided to become a computer science teacher, for which he went to pursue a master's in computer science. In the last year of their master's, he created something that changed the software world, as computers and AI systems were new to the world. The number of bits used to create fake traffic for the website to attract ads was increasing. This was a matter of huge loss for the companies, as they could not differentiate between real and fake traffic, leading to huge losses. This problem was taken as a huge opportunity for Louis. He created a gateway possible only for humans and human understanding passing. They used to be simple puzzles like unscrambling the words and adding numbers that led to the revolutionary formation of the company reCAPTCHA. At the same time, Louis had a contract for dignitizing the New York Times newspaper. That was 150 years of pages. The deal did make him a lot of money, considering that they also paid to use reCAPTCHA. Also, the CAPTCHAs used to identify whether you are a human or not were scrambled or weirdly written words from the New York Times newspaper. Super smart move by Louis indeed. This digitalization only brought him a lot of money and also dragged his attention and interest to the linguistic industry. Moving on, reCAPTCHA was a huge success. It was later bought by Google for an undisclosed price, but it was confirmed by Von Ahn that it was somewhere between 10 million to 100 million. This gave a boost to the entrepreneurs in Von Ahn, but his first love was always to teach. This was the result that he continued to do a PhD at the same university where he met Severin Hector, a brilliant computer scientist and a linguist, in short, a computer nerd. This man was a PhD student at the university. So you know, he was smart. Louis and Severin did bond well. No, not romantically. They both were computer enthusiasts and were willing to be entrepreneurs instead of having a job. Both were multilinguistic. Both were eager and dedicated to several subjects and wanted the expertise to be put to proper use. Funding or money was not a problem, as Louis was rich, as he did make a lot of money in his last few deals. They did have enough money to build an organization out of it. But what were they doing? Well, this was a topic to think of. They did put up their hands to try out social media, but backed up immediately due to high competition and the fact that giants like Facebook, Instagram and WhatsApp were already in the market. Finally, Louis keeping his passion for teaching and language alive, decided to teach language online. After fixing the idea, they had to discuss the name. Naming the app was important as it should be something different and memorable and related to language and should represent multilinguistic nature and blah blah blah. Several names were put forward like Fluent, Monolingo, but after all this, they finally settled on Duolingo. Could have thought more, but okay. The app had a name and the prototype was ready. Both were happy with the progress so far, and advertising was the only thing they needed to work on. That problem was solved too, as Louis, being a founder of reCAPTCHA, was invited to the TEDx talk as a speaker. The mention of a new language learning app they were creating was the only thing required. This TED talk was a hit, and Duolingo, which was just an app to register using email and was not near to launch, had 3 lakh pre-launch registration within 2 weeks of the talk. Looking at the response, both Louis and Severin knew the potential this project had, and now they had a point of no return. They had to make it user-friendly, attractive, and most importantly, free, because Monolingo always thought that education should be free or the cheapest. Reducing price or keeping it free was never a problem, as the company's revenue was dependent on mouth marketing. At the same time, cloud conferences were at their peak. This idea was a boon to the company. Duolingo organized its first DuoCon in 2019, and the idea was several language enthusiasts came together, and this formed a reliable consumer base as the language enthusiast community was increasing and growing together. It also created a good sense of engagement with their users. Duolingo launched its private beta testing version on 30th November 2011 and made the app public on 19th June 2011, for which they had nearly 5 lakh pre-registrations till then. A massive demand indeed. We can say Duolingo was a hit from the very first day. They first launched the iOS version and, looking at the demand, launched it on the Play Store, which turned out to be a global hit. This was a confidence boosting factor for the company. It still had to figure out its economy. As a non-profit company, it took up necessary steps for sustainability as the economic resources were depleting, and on the contrary, the consumer base was rapidly increasing as it was free. This was a hard nut to crack. As forced monetizing, it could have a reverse effect on the consumer base as well as the motto of the company. Keeping all this in mind, they finally decided to outsource the equity for funding. Getting the company funded with such a huge consumer base was not a difficult task, and they received their first investment, which was a Series A investment of $3.3 million from Union Square Ventures, with the participation of author Tim Ferriss and actor Ashton Kutcher. The service with this funding grew up to 5 million, and the company was constantly achieving its goals. But still, finding a way out to monetize the app was difficult, as this was to be the boldest move that the company could ever take, and it needed to be done strategically. The main reason for fear of monetizing was the company had a really low budget for advertisement, and maximum consumers were attracted to its free software and consumer-to-consumer mouth publicity. A low budget does not always mean ineffective ads. Duolingo ads put to maximum use of the available resources. The biggest they got was the Scout on Instagram, goofy remixes and collabs with trending reels may make a catchy post. This fun-looking mascot was Duo. You might have seen it punishing people for breaking their streak. Following the same thought process and figuring out a way to do it, they took up their second Series C investment of $20 million from KPCB, and it followed by a Series D investment of $45.3 million in the company, and so the total investment amount grew up to $108.3 million by now. Though the monetization plan was not set up, the investors were happy and willingly interested as the company was growing. This brought up a subsequent Series E investment of $25 million by Drive Capital soon before Duolingo launched its monetization plan. Yes, they do have a monetization plan now. This was the biggest announcement for the company as it was proceeding from a free to a freemium version. Many of you might have guessed what they did. They put up ads after every day's lecture, and to get rid of them, you need to buy the premium version. And surprise still, 96% of users use it for free. But as said by Louis, they get the maximum revenue from the remaining 4%. Now you have an idea of the actual consumer support. This was a bold move and it skyrocketed the company's growth as students learning for free and paid can both learn at their own pace and availability. Duolingo launched its initial public offering in 2021 at a staggering valuation of $6.5 billion, making use of the few freemium software to do so. There is indeed a lot to learn from the journey of Duolingo and its founders. From the business point of view, it shows the success of the freemium model in boosting user numbers and that you can more or less sustain your business even if only 4% of the users pay, because the user numbers are so high that 4% is very huge number. On the other hand, it gives a unique perspective into entrepreneurship, how ideas are based on your passions, emotions, goals, and not just money or power. With a 300 million user base, it is truly an inspiration for global educators to not stop and keep growing.